It's all covered in today's China Truths.
Hong Kong is in shock. Nearly 500,000 people have abandoned Hong Kong, but the real earthquake came when the Li Ka-shing family, the most powerful business dynasty in the city, suddenly rushed to liquidate their assets. Today we're diving into two explosive stories that are shaking not just Hong Kong, but also Beijing's grip on power. Both stories reveal cracks inside the Chinese communist regime, and they're closely connected. The first shockwave, Asia's legendary billionaire, Li Ka-shing, has put up for sale his most treasured home, an iconic mansion at 79 Deepwater Bay Road. This isn't just any house. Feng Shui masters once called it a land of prosperity. Li himself vowed he would never sell it. He bought the estate in 1963 as a wedding gift for his late wife, and it witnessed his rise from a humble plastics manufacturer to one of the world's richest men. Yet now, at 97 years old, Li is letting it go, listed at 23% below market price. For many, this was the ultimate signal. The Li family is cutting ties with Hong Kong. Reports from Taiwan revealed that Li's firms, CK Asset Holdings and CK Hutchison Holdings, are dumping nearly 400 apartments in the Greater Bay Area. Some went for as low as 400,000 yuan, sparking a buying frenzy. Busloads of Hong Kongers rushed to Huizhou, Zhongshan, Guangzhou, and Dongguan. In Huizhou alone, 300 units sold in a single day, while even luxury estates like Haiyi Villa in Dongguan were slashed to bargain prices. Analysts say this clearance sale strategy is classic Li Ka-shing, using downturns and loopholes to cash out at the perfect moment. And once again, it's working. But for Hong Kongers, the mansion sale carries deeper symbolism. Deepwater Bay isn't just a neighborhood, it's the inner circle of Hong Kong's tycoons. Li's neighbors included casino king Stanley Ho, shipping giant Pao Yue Kong, and billionaire Robert Kwok. Yet Li's villa occupied the most coveted spot, mountain at the back, ocean at the front, the perfect feng shui formula. After moving there, Li's fortunes skyrocketed. Now, as this home of prosperity goes on the market, many ask, is Li Ka-shing sending a message? Is the era of Hong Kong's tycoons over? And if the richest man is pulling out, what comes next for Hong Kong? In 1996, everything changed for Li Ka-shing. His eldest son, Victor Li, was kidnapped by one of Hong Kong's most feared gangsters, Chung Se-kung, known as Big Spender. Acting completely alone, Chung strapped explosives to his body and demanded an unimaginable ransom, HK 2 billion. Li Ka-shing, calm under pressure, shocked everyone with his reply. I only have HK 1 billion in cash, but I can go to the bank for the rest. Even Chung himself was stunned by Li's composure and asked why he wasn't afraid. Li answered coldly, because I was wrong. We became too famous in Hong Kong without protection. Every morning I drive alone to the new territories at 5 a.m. If cars surrounded me, I wouldn't even know. I must rethink everything. Chung eventually collected over HK $1 billion in ransom and released Victor. 2 years later, he was captured on the mainland and executed. But the kidnapping forever changed Li Ka-shing. From that day forward, security became his obsession. By 2006, he spent $200 million to rebuild his mansion into a fortress. Bulletproof glass on every window, secret cameras hidden across the property, panic rooms on every floor with steel doors and reinforced walls, electric fences encircling the compound. His home became one of the safest places in Hong Kong. That single event opened Li's eyes. Even in a city once considered one of the world's safest, a man of his wealth and power could still be targeted. Analysts later revealed that Chung wasn't from Hong Kong's traditional triads like Sun Yan or 14K. He was tied to the notorious Big Circle Gang, former Red Guards from mainland China, who fled south after Mao dissolved them in 1967. Trained in violence and crime, they built a reputation far more brutal than Hong Kong's old-school gangs. The kidnapping of Victor Li wasn't just a crime. It was a turning point that shook Hong Kong's richest family and exposed the city's dark underworld. Although Hong Kong's triads rarely resorted to extreme violence, the Big Circle Gang was notorious enough to become a top target for law enforcement. Struggling to integrate into society, its members eventually fell under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Chung Se-kung, who worked with the gang, managed to escape capture multiple times thanks to his mainland connections. Rumors swirled after Chung Tse-kung's high-profile kidnappings of Victor Li, the son of Li Ka-shing, and Walter Kwok of the Kwok family. One thing was clear: Chung knew exactly where the untouchable lines were. Li Ka-shing understood these murky ties and realized that after 1997, Hong Kong's legal system would never be the same. By 2011, Li began quietly moving his assets overseas. By 2013, he accelerated the sale of his key properties in Hong Kong and mainland China, sparking backlash from Beijing. Chinese state media ran headlines like, "Don't let Li Ka-shing escape." But Li didn't stop. He sold shopping malls, ports, utilities, and reinvested heavily in the UK, Canada, and Singapore. The erosion of Hong Kong's freedoms led to the 2014 umbrella movement and the 2019 protests, culminating in Beijing's sweeping national security law. Li saw the writing on the wall. In 2022, he sold his CITIC stake for $21 billion, and in 2023, offloaded Hong Kong Electric for another $20 billion. The breaking point came with the Panama Canal. Li sought to sell his port operations to an American company, aligning with U.S. interests. But the CCP blocked the deal, unwilling to concede strategic ground. The U.S., however, made it clear China would not control the Panama Canal. The clash marked the final rupture between Li Ka-shing and the CCP. Even at 97, Li remains sharp and in control of his empire. Rumors about selling his mansion at 79 Deepwater Bay Road were denied by his son Victor Li, but analysts note it may be part of a larger strategy. For Li, money is no longer the issue. The message is, he is cutting ties with Hong Kong and the CCP. Li Ka-shing was once the first major investor to bet big on China in the 1980s, inspiring global capital to follow. Now he is the first to pull out, and others are likely to follow his lead. In just the past 3 years, nearly 500,000 people have left Hong Kong. The city's middle and upper classes are packing their bags for the UK, Canada, Australia, and Taiwan, seeking freedom, security, and an escape from CCP control. The second shockwave comes from the Hong Kong Parliament, a government in exile formed by pro-democracy activists. On the 25th, Hong Kong's Security Bureau issued arrest warrants for 19 members, including 9 organizers and 10 elected lawmakers, each with a $1 million bounty. They were accused of subversion, secession, and collusion under the national security law. The move triggered international condemnation. The US, UK, Canada, and Australia denounced the warrants as transnational repression, a violation of sovereignty and international law. Lawmakers like Marco Rubio warned that Beijing's crackdown breaks its 1997 promise of autonomy. Canada and the UK even suspended cooperation on extradition. Ironically, the crackdown has only given the Hong Kong Parliament more global attention. Leaders like Yuan Kong-yat and Dr. Feng Chung-ying say their mission is to draft a constitution and prepare for a democratic Hong Kong if the CCP regime falters. Each arrest warrant, they argue, strengthens their legitimacy and fuels international sympathy. For many, this battle highlights the stark reality. Hong Kong's government has fully become a local arm of the CCP, relying on fear and suppression. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Parliament is positioning itself as a government in exile, ready to restore order if change comes.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
In southern China, a shocking transformation is taking place in Guangdong, once the crown jewel of China's economic miracle. Factory complexes that once pulsed with energy now sit in silence, their assembly lines frozen in time. Workers who once powered the world's supply chains are now gathering at factory gates, demanding unpaid wages, while rumors swirl of companies shifting production abroad. Foxconn, a global titan, has already cut hours, trimmed salaries, and fueled speculation of pulling out. What we are seeing is not just factory layoffs, it is the unraveling of an entire system. A social and economic time bomb is ticking, one that could send tremors through communities, industries, and the global economy. The questions are urgent. What forces are behind this collapse, and how far will the damage ripple? For decades, Guangdong symbolized the rise of modern China. Rice fields turned into industrial zones, and sleepy towns morphed into mega cities, churning out everything from smartphones to sneakers. Low-cost labor and world-class logistics made it the beating heart of global manufacturing. But now that heart is faltering. Since 2023, factory closures have swept across electronics, textiles, furniture, and accessories. In Dongguan, once called the world's workshop, entire industrial parks look deserted, their gates chained shut. In cities like Shenzhen, Foshan, and Huizhou, gleaming facilities that once operated 24/7 now stand rusting, abandoned under the humid southern sky. The downturn is no longer hidden in economic reports. It is visible in daily life, carved into the empty streets where commerce once thrived. The statistics tell a brutal story. By 2024, Guangdong's GDP growth had slowed to just 3.5%, lagging behind the national pace of nearly 5%. Guangzhou's expansion barely reached 2.1%, Foshan dropped to 1.3%, and Shantou ground to a near halt. These numbers point not to a temporary slump, but to deep fractures in the region's economic foundation. Companies that had survived global recessions, the US-China trade war, and the pandemic could no longer withstand collapsing demand, higher labor costs, and shrinking profits. Many simply closed their doors, leaving behind shuttered factories, unresolved debts, and shattered communities. Even small neighborhood businesses, restaurants, salons, street vendors are vanishing. As one street food seller in Dongguan lamented, "No night shifts mean no workers, and no workers mean no customers. I can't survive like this." What is happening in Guangdong is more than local decline. It raises the chilling possibility that China's entire role as the world's factory is now under threat. At the center of this downfall is a storm of global and domestic pressures. International demand, once seemingly endless, has been crippled by trade wars and geopolitical rifts. In 2024, Washington rolled out fresh tariffs on Chinese exports, electronics, auto parts, industrial goods, pushing rates above 50% for some items. Within 3 months, Chinese exports to the U.S. collapsed by over 40%, according to customs figures. Factories across Shenzhen, Dongguan, and Foshan suddenly faced canceled contracts, unsold inventory, and assembly lines grinding to a stop. But even the home market is failing to absorb the shock. Despite stimulus measures and interest rate cuts, Chinese consumers remain cautious. Weighed down by property debt and stagnant income, households are tightening spending. Nationwide retail sales in early 2025 grew only 3.7%, a far cry from pre-pandemic levels. Restaurants, malls, and entertainment venues in Guangdong are seeing fewer customers than ever. At the same time, foreign capital is quietly leaving. Multinational corporations, wary of political risk and drawn by cheaper alternatives, are shifting operations to Vietnam, India, and Indonesia. Between 2024 and 2025, investment into Chinese manufacturing projects dropped sharply, while Southeast Asia reported record factory openings. China's aggressive push on the global stage is shaking investor confidence like never before. Policies driven by the state, unpredictable regulations, and a sense that the business climate is turning hostile have dimmed Guangdong's shine as the world's factory hub. What's happening here is not just the hangover of one bad year, it's the accumulation of global economic shifts, broken trade ties, and a weakening domestic market, all colliding in a province once thought invincible. For many companies, the question is no longer if they should leave, but how fast they can pack up and go.